Hey, I'm Akhil. I'm your counselor and coach for data science at Board Infinity. Let's get together and learn math, programming, business understanding, predictive analytics, and so much more. Today we are going to talk about what is better, a data scientist working in an MNC or a data scientist working in a startup. Honestly, there are disadvantages and advantages in both, right? Being in data science itself is very exciting. There are tons of opportunities for everyone. Like how all your fingers are not the same, likewise all people don't have the same ambitions or don't have the same motivations. Let's talk about a data scientist working in a startup first. I'm choosing this purely because I as well started in a startup, right? And now I'm in an MNC. So I know both the sides of the spectrum. So let me start with a data scientist working in a startup. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? As I said, motivations can be completely different. A data scientist working in a startup is exposed to a lot of things, not just data science. He's also exposed to management. He's also exposed to recruitment and everything, right? Let's talk about data science in particular. Data science itself is very vast. It has data engineering, it has data analytics, it has predictive or prescriptive modeling, it has data visualization. If you're working in a startup, more often than not, you will be wearing all these hats. You'll be doing data engineering, you'll be doing data sciences, you'll be doing data analytics, you'll be doing data visualization. And you'll also be talking to the client, right? You get that exposure of seeing the problem end to end. You're not siloed in a space. That may be good for people who think that they want to get an experience of everything but not maybe an expertise, right? If I had to choose between experience and expertise, that is one benchmark that you can have before going to a startup or an MNC. In a startup, you might not gain expertise, but you will definitely gain experience. Now let's talk about what happens in an MNC. MNCs are generally huge, right? And they're always solving problems at scale. That means the problems that they solve are going to affect a lot of people, a lot of businesses. So what does it mean? It means there are a lot of resources who are solving these problems, right? Now here what happens is, as a data scientist, you might not be exposed to all parts of the problem. You might not even see the end product. But what you will gain from working in an MNC as a data scientist is the expertise. Let's say, for example, you are very interested in doing data engineering, right? You want to be, very good at database management. You want to make sure that whatever data we have for analysis is good. You will develop that experience and expertise working in an MNC for data engineering. Now that's a choice that you have to make. Do you want to be an expert or do you want to just gain experience of everything? The next part I want to touch upon is being industry agnostic. So what does it mean? Let's say, for example, a startup. Now this can happen in MNC as well, but it depends on companies to companies. There are startups in the data science space which focuses solely on a particular industry. They may just focus on solving retail problems. They may just focus on solving utility and energy problems. Now, if you want to be a data scientist in that kind of a company, you're agreeing to the fact that you will never be exposed to any other problem other than the retail problems. And don't get me wrong, retail problems, it's not just one problem, right? There are thousands and thousands of problems in retail alone. But you will have experience working on retail that you'll be an expert in that particular industry. It can be same with an MNC as well. But in an MNC, what happens is, usually MNCs are exposed to a wide variety of industries, right? They might be working with a tech company, they might be working with a pure e-commerce company, they might also be working with the petroleum industry. Now there is always a scope for you to switch industries in an MNC, which means, let's say if you don't like what you're doing in the retail industry, right? So there's always this scope and there's always this opportunity to jump within the same company. Before choosing a data science job in either an MNC or a startup, make sure what you're getting into. Make sure that your expectations are set right up front, because more often than not, what I've at least seen in my experience is people don't know what they're getting into, be it a startup or an MNC. And that's the major cause of frustration when you get into the company and start solving problems. Let's say, for example, you're interested in building predictive modeling, you're interested in doing all these predictive analytics. But then when you land at that job, you realize that the company itself is not doing any predictive analytics. And it can change. It's not because the company has not told, it might be because of various other reasons. And then that will be sort of a cause of frustration for you because you didn't sign up for this. So my advice to you is, be it a startup or MNC, please make sure that you know what you're getting into. Is it going to be a role where you're seeing the end-to-end of a problem? Is it going to be a role where your expertise should be in a specific field? It doesn't matter if it's a startup or an MNC, you need to know what you're getting into. The last but not the least, working in a startup or an MNC is the growth opportunity. Not just in data science, but especially in data science, because a lot of companies are doing data science, right? Everyone from Amazon to Microsoft to the smallest of companies, even a person who has just opened a bakery, he needs data science to understand what is happening. But just imagine you're in a company like Amazon, right? And you're just starting fresh. The opportunity to grow in that company will be, I would say, very minimal compared to an early stage startup where you're just growing, the startup is doing well, they need people, you're the most experienced person, and you're good at what you do, so you will be given that opportunity to thrive and flourish. Now that's again a choice you need to make. And please remember one thing, talking with personal experience, a startup job is not a rosy job, right? I know it from experience. You have to be inquisitive, you have to be passionate. Not just a startup or an MNC job. Now when I look back at it, it's not about being in a startup or being in an MNC. You just have to be passionate enough in your job. That will help you thrive. Talking about, spending more time in your work, I would also like to talk about work-life balance. I would say more work-life harmony, because in a job, there are people, who want to do a 9 to 5 and then just shut off from their space. That's fine, right? It's not wrong or it's not right. But then it is your choice that you're going to make. Do you want to sit in a 9 to 5 job, or do you want to be, doing more on the weekend, being inquisitive, being learning, solving a lot of data science problems? I feel that kind of an opportunity is more in startup than in an MNC. Now, just to conclude, to choose between a startup and MNC, doesn't matter if it's a startup or MNC. The first thing that you got to ask yourself is, do you know what you're getting into, right? Do you know what the job entails? Once that is out of the play, then you think about, how is your lifestyle going to be? Do you like a 9 to 5 job? Because you might have something else going on the side, right? Then make the choice. Maybe an MNC is better for you. The third is the growth opportunity. What are the opportunities for you to grow as an individual, or as someone who knows a lot of things, not just being and solving a data engineering problem, but who has seen an end-to-end of a product. If you like that, maybe startup is the choice for you. Might not be an MNC, where you will gain a lot of expertise, but maybe not a lot of experience in doing other things.